She stood alone at the edge of the small country cemetery, boots sinking slightly into the damp earth as a gray sky pressed low over the hills, and the wind tugged at the hem of her coat like it was trying to pull her backward into memories she couldn't escape. Clara Whitmore hadn't planned to cry today. She had told herself that when she drove the long, winding road back to Red Willow, she would be composed, grown, finished with the rawness of grief. But the sight of the simple headstone, Eleanor Whitmore, beloved mother, undid her in a way she hadn't expected. Her breath hitched, her shoulders shook, and before she could stop it, tears slid down her cheeks and fell onto the cold stone. "I'm sorry, Mama," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I should have come back sooner." 3 years had passed since the funeral, 3 years since she had run from this town because staying hurt too much, and now the weight of that choice pressed on her chest like a heavy hand. She knelt, brushing away a few fallen leaves, remembering how her mother used to hum while cooking, how she smelled of soap and sunshine, how she always believed Clara would find her way no matter how far she wandered. The ranch house at the edge of town felt empty without her mother's laugh, and Clara had avoided it until now, choosing instead a cheap motel and the cemetery first, as if facing the grave might somehow make the rest easier. Her hands trembled as she rested them on her knees, and she bowed her head, the grief pouring out of her in silent sobs. That was when she sensed someone near, by not close enough to intrude, but present enough to be felt. Ethan Cole had come to the cemetery to pay his own respects. He had known Eleanor Whitmore well. Everyone in Red Willow had. She'd been the kind of woman who baked pies for neighbors without being asked, and listened without judgment when folks needed it most. Ethan, tall and broad, shouldered with a weathered face that spoke of long days under the sun, had tipped his hat when he saw Clara's truck parked crookedly near the gate. He recognized her immediately, though she'd been gone for years. Clara Whitmore, the girl who used to race horses with him along the fence line. The girl who left town with fire in her eyes and dreams bigger than the valley could hold. He hadn't planned on interrupting her moment, but when he saw her kneel and begin to shake with grief, something in his chest tightened. He approached slowly, boots quiet on the grass, stopping a respectful distance away. He cleared his throat softly, not wanting to startle her. Clara looked up, eyes red and wet, and for a heartbeat neither of them spoke. Time seemed to fold in on itself, bringing the past and present together in a way that felt almost painful. "Ethan," she said finally, his name fragile on her tongue. She hadn't realized how much she missed the sound of familiar voices until that moment. "I'm sorry, Clara," he said gently, "about your mama." His voice was low and steady, like the land itself. He took off his hat and held it against his chest, a quiet sign of respect that made her throat tighten all over again. "Thank you," she whispered. She loved this place, said it was peaceful. Her gaze flicked back to the headstone, and fresh tears spilled over. Without thinking too much about it, Ethan closed the distance between them and crouched beside her. He didn't speak at first. He didn't offer platitudes or tell her everything would be okay. He simply reached out and took her hand. His palm was warm and calloused, solid in a way that felt anchoring. Clara flinched for a split second, surprised by the contact, and then she clung to him like a lifeline, fingers curling tightly around his. And he didn't let go. They stayed like that for a long time, the wind moving through the trees, the quiet broken only by Clara's soft crying. Ethan kept his grip firm but gentle, a silent promise that she wasn't alone, that she didn't have to be strong by herself. When her sobs finally eased into shaky breaths, he squeezed her hand once, reassuring. "She was proud of you," he said softly. "She told me that, you know, every time she talked about you." Clara closed her eyes, a small, broken sound escaping her. "I was so scared to come back," she admitted. "I thought this place would swallow me whole, that I'd feel like a failure for leaving and for coming back with nothing to show for it." Ethan shook his head. "This place doesn't keep score like that," he said, And neither did your mama. She just wanted you happy. He helped her to her feet when her legs felt weak, steadying her without crowding her, his presence calm and unwavering. They walked slowly toward the gate, still holding hands, and Clara realized with a start that she hadn't let go either. It felt natural, like something that had always been there and was simply being remembered. As they reached her truck, she hesitated. "I'm staying for a while," she said, almost as if asking permission to sort through things, the house, my head. "I'm glad," Ethan replied, a hint of a smile touching his lips. "If you need anything, anything at all, you know where to find me." Over the next few weeks, their paths crossed again and again. Ethan helped her fix the broken fence at the old ranch, brought over extra firewood when the nights turned cold, and showed up with groceries when he noticed her lights were on late. Clara found herself laughing more than she had in years, the sound unfamiliar but welcome. She told him about the city, about dreams that hadn't worked out, about how lonely success could feel when it wasn't what you thought it would be. He listened just like her mama used to, without trying to change her story. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky in gold and pink, they sat on the porch steps, shoulders brushing. "I used to think leaving meant I was brave," Clara said quietly, but coming back. "This feels braver somehow." Ethan looked at her then, really looked at her, and saw not the girl she had been but the woman she had become, scarred, strong, still hopeful. "You don't have to decide everything right now," he said. "Just take it one day at a time." When he reached for her hand again, she laced her fingers through his without hesitation. The warmth spread through her chest, easing something she hadn't realized was still broken. In that simple, steady gesture, she felt her mother's presence too, like a blessing carried on the evening breeze. Months later, when spring softened the land and green returned to the fields, Clara stood once more by her mama's grave. This time she wasn't alone. Ethan stood beside her, his hand firm in hers, his thumb brushing small, comforting circles against her skin. "I think I'm going to stay," she said softly, smiling through misty eyes. "I think this is home." The wind stirred the wildflowers around the headstone, and Clara could almost hear her mother's humming again, warm and approving. She squeezed Ethan's hand, grateful beyond words, and knew with a certainty that settled deep in her bones. From the moment he had taken her hand in her darkest hour, he had never let go, and she never wanted him to.